Now we've got to see if we can fix the receiver. Now I had an idea that one of these chips had burnt out. There we go. Did you see that? But it was that one. Not making the sort of progress I'd hoped. I swapped out the two transistors that were there, the surface mount transistors, for 3904 transistors, and it worked briefly and then they burnt out. I've swapped them for 2N2222 transistors and it's not working at all. Well, I say that, it worked very briefly and then stopped working. So I'm guessing there might be something else that's not quite right further back in the circuitry. So I'm abandoning that, and I'm going to use this receiver board that I've used on a few of my other projects and use two batteries, one for the power for the motors and one just to drive the receiver. If I remember, I'll put a link into the video where I modified this receiver to use this external H bridge. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to use that receiver to run the what was it? Land Rover, wasn't it? Well, it looks far more complicated than it needs to be, but it is actually up and running. So I've got a small 1S LiPo to power the receiver. And then I've got a 2S LiPo, which is switched in and out by this external H bridge to run the drive motor and the steering. So if I just lift that up, so we've got the steering, just lift it out the way so it doesn't get caught up in the back wheels. Just try and talk you through what we've got here. This is the control chip, the RX chip, and pins 6 and 7, we start at number 1 where the little dimple is. 6 and 7 are the left-right control chip, control outputs, so those go to those blue and white wires, and then pins 10 and 11 on this side go to these pink and grey wires. They end up on this external H bridge that I've got. So the blue and white go to input 1 and input 2, and grey and pink go to input 3 and input 4, and then motor A and motor B. Motor A is now the steering motor, and motor B is now the drive motor. Not my neatest bit of work, because this is sort of built up from another project, or at least the blue and white wires were from another project. But there we are. So now we've got, we don't need it, but we've got two separate batteries. We've got one to drive the receiver and one to drive the actual motors. And because we've got this external H bridge that uses a separate supply, then we can actually use different power batteries to do the different jobs. I can't remember what voltage this one can handle. I suppose it really depends on how much current we're drawing through it. So I'll put it all back together and we'll give it a try. Now, for demonstration purposes, I've got everything on the outside of the car. I've gone back to using a 1S LiPo battery to power it, because I found with a 2S that chip on the H bridge was getting quite hot. So rather than blow that up as well, I've reverted just back to a 1S LiPo. So we'll give it a go. Don't know if the camera will pick that up. That chip's gone up to 41 degrees. It's coming down, but it's obviously getting hot under load. So I probably need a bigger or more powerful H bridge if I want to do this properly. But the theory works.